Hi guys, welcome back to the next episode of Don't Fear the Wait. With me, your TinyTitan host, and in my little kind of cupboard of under the stairs Harry Potter wonderfulness. Back with another episode and another guest in the hot seat. And today I have a beautiful guest on with me, Meg Sylvester, which is actually under the name Cuba because she's using Cuba's Mac today. It did worry me a little bit. I was like, oh my God, have I booked the
Am I going to see him? Am I going to see his big, ugly, bald head?
You said that, not me. So I
guess I'd say that I'm allowed to, but he'd probably be annoyed if he heard that.
Yeah, he will. And he will listen to this because, you know, it's you on the podcast. So
yeah,
we might cut that out. We might cut it out. But then again, we might not. So it's all good. Anyway, Meg, how are you, my love?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm very good. I think that I'm ready for the world to go back to normal now, to maybe go to the cinema.
Oh my God, I know, right?
Yeah. But apart from that, I'm great. How are you?
Oh, I can't complain. I've never got anything to grumble about me.
And you've got a nice little setup in your garage from what I see.
It's not bad, you know. I can't complain too much about it. So I'm not one of these... I never wanted to be one of these people who kind of like traveled miles and miles away just to go and use a gym. And
no, I think I think it'd take away from your session. I think it'll all become a little bit too much. If I didn't have access, I'd have done what you've done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I knew that this was coming, obviously, before the first lockdown.
Yeah.
And it was my husband who really wanted to have a gym at home as well, because he could never get the time to get into a gym.
Oh, that's quite cool.
So we kind of started putting all of this together before the lockdowns even happened. And then obviously, as you can imagine, when the lockdown did happen, it was like, crap, I've just got that ordered. We had little bits and pieces and stuff, but I was also in prep for the bench press worlds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was like, I really need access to at least 100 kilos worth of weights and a bench setup. So we were having that, and my husband is the only person that I trust to spot me on a bench. So, yeah, I know. So that's the reason why we obviously had that, because he knew the layout and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why we just kind of like built what we have now. So thankfully, you know, touch wood, it was all right. But yeah, I was not in the mind frame of thinking that I'm not going to progress without a hack squat, without a pendulum squat, without a leg extension. You can progress in so many ways.
The thing is that the first people who ever were bodybuilders didn't have access to things like fancy machines, and still they grew their bodies to be the way that they were. Things have progressed on, but it's not, I don't think it's the equipment that things have progressed on with as to why people look the way that they do.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think that people do forget that. And I think that people, I don't know, I think it's just easier, isn't it, to jump on a machine?
Oh, for sure.
The flinging up of dumbbells and barbells and stuff that's probably just a little less safe, we could say.
Yeah.
But it builds the same tissue, so.
It certainly does. And the majority of people have got room for a rack and a barbell and some weights.
Yeah. I reckon I could fit it in my room.
Yeah. I mean, don't, but yeah, you could fit it in there.
No, we have, this is the dedicated check-in spot, so.
Nice. Oh, actually, yeah, now I can see it. Okay, yeah, cool. So you've got a really nice light and everything like that in there as well.
Yeah. That keeps making me go a little bit blurry, but it's okay.
Yeah, but it's all right. We know who you are, so it's okay. So we went off on a little bit of a tangent there, but that's cool. So if people don't know who you are, which I know is like completely ridiculous, but just give us a little bit of a rundown of who you are and all of that kind of malarkey.
I'm going to stop playing with my light now.
Okay.
Right. Oh, maybe I won't. That's making me look really white, isn't it? If I turn it off, is that bad?
That's cool.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So I'm Meg Sylvester. What am I? I don't even know.
Well, you were a bikini girl.
I was a bikini girl. We've got dogs playing outside the room. I was a bikini girl, transitioned to become a figure competitor. I actually won my pro card in the bikini class. Started competing in 2017. So I've not actually, no, 2016, the September. So I've not actually been competing for that long. All together, I've done 11 shows.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And won my pro card in Bikini in Alicante, out with Cuba when he won his pro card as well in 2018 in the October.
Right.
Then decided that I wanted to do figure.
Okay.
Because I think that my body type is definitely much more fitting to that than Bikini. So that's why we decided to transition over. So it's kind of mine, Cuba's, and Jordan Peters' decisions all together. Jordan was kind of pushing it all the time. Yeah, to just become a figure competitor, and I'm so glad that I did. I'm not I don't know how to explain it without sounding like a bit of a dick. I'm not really very
cool.
Yeah, I'm not very flappy. I'm not sassy. I can be when I want to be, but not on a stage full of people. Like stuff like that to me is very like for me and Cuba.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? But yeah, like the posing and the sassiness doesn't come naturally to me. And I think that when that's the case, I think that bikini is probably not the class for you. So that's another reason as to why I much prefer to figure, because it's very much, you get on there, you do your 4 poses and that's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's not a lot of like flapping around and stuff. So, and I like to train hard and I like to train my legs. And if I was going to do bikini still, I wouldn't have been able to train my quads. But in a nutshell, I'm Meg. I used to do bikini. I now do figure. I'm an online coach.
Yeah.
And as many of other people know me as, I'm Cuba's missus.
Yeah. We're just going to throw that in at the end, because that's not what makes you Meg, isn't it? Even
no, but
it's not who makes you Meg.
Yeah, I'm the one who makes his food on YouTube.
Yes, yeah, that is what makes you Meg. Absolutely, doing the whole rice and the cream of rice. Although I did see that Cuba took over the cream of rice because he was better at that one, apparently.
He's better at cream of rice, yeah. But then I've learned how to do it from him, and now I would say that I'm better than him.
Fabulous. Okay, so we're still chalking that one up to Meg. Brilliant.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. So this is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on. We were going to talk about mentality and mindset from transitioning from a bikini competitor and moving up the ranks to going into a figure realm, because it's not as easy as people think it's going to be, is it, in terms of like a mentality and mindset?
Yeah, it's, do you know, it's really hard to explain the way that I think and the way that I feel, because it's the way that I've always been, because I've been a competitor for a long time. And I guess from my old sport, I had to compete against girls that were kind of double my age, because I'd come through the ranks quite young. So I guess you could kind of see it as a similar thing, in the fact that I've come from a small class and now trying to do a bigger class. So it was kind of the same mindset on the thought process behind it, in that if I needed to be good, I needed to give my kind of everything to that. And that's not me saying that if you're a bikini girl and you're going to stay in the bikini class, that you can't still have that mindset. But if you are going to transition, you are going to have to push yourself to a whole different level of uncomfortable. And I think that there is definitely an element of being slightly uncomfortable as a bikini girl when you're trying to push for size, especially if you're not really genetically, or you've not got great genetic makeup. You are probably going to have to push a lot more than someone that does. And I guess that comes into the same as every class. But if you are transitioning, like that push is massive. And you need great people around you. You do need to have a true love for the class that you're trying to push for. You have to look at the people that are at the top of that kind of that class and go, that gives me so much, like so many butterflies inside me when I watch them on stage. The way that they look, the way that they move, the way that they train, like everything has to be so like, oh my God, wow, I want to be there, for
Mm.
you to want to do it, and for you to actually push past that point. Because I know that there's many people that have tried and not then being able to carry on through with it, because you go through a phase like at the moment I am quite big for me.
Yeah.
And there's going to be times when you look in the mirror and you think to yourself, oh my God,
Yeah.
what do I look like? And that's not you as a normal person. Like, that's not what you're going to look like after you finish competing. It's not what you're going to look like when you're prepping. But when you are trying to push, you have to understand that it is quite hard. But if you truly love it and you truly want to be the best that you want to be, you have to do it. Like, you have to do it. And I guess that my mindset when it comes to that is that I want to be the best. Like, I would really, really love to stand on the Olympia stage. Do I have the genetic makeup, say, like my closest friend Ria?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I don't have that. Like, I don't have that natural kind of geneticness that Ria has. But I'll work my hardest to make sure that I can get to a point where I do look super special on stage. So I think if you do have a true love for it, and a true love for training, I think that someone can do that. I think the mindset is that if you really love the process and you love what that end product looks like, but you're not bothered about what happens between that, then I think that that's the mindset that you have to have.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, you're trying to push for size at the moment. That you must understand what I mean.
Yeah,
It's hard.
difficult. It is. It's very difficult. I mean, I've always been striving for size, and it's always been one of those things where I can train hard. I can push myself to those realms and be completely battered. But of course, there are certain mentalities that you need to obviously put out. I remember when JP was, because he used to live next door to me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. So I remember when we were actually training together. Well, we weren't training together. He was training with Corinne, and obviously I was training at the same time in the same gym. And we were just having a little bit of a chat. And I remember taking myself to a complete and utter failure realm on a chest supported T-bar row. And he said, you know, one of these things or one of these days, you are going to be pretty damn great because you train fucking hard. And then just walked off. And I was like, brilliant. Thank you. So it was pretty awesome to hear that from somebody. I mean, at the time, we're talking years ago, but at the time I didn't really know who he was. So I was just obviously just having a chat with him. You know, he was spotting me on some benches and shoulder presses and that kind of thing. And he was very nice about everything about it. And we were just having conversations about growth. And it's obviously after the fact that we started talking a bit more and I knew who he was. But the strive and the mentality to actually put on weight, and some of it is going to be negative weight.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. And for women to actually accept that they have to put on negative weight in order to gain positive weight, that's a very, very difficult thing to do.
It is, yeah, it is. It's really hard to... It's like, I would say that I'm in quite... Like, my body composition is good, looking from a coach's perspective, because I do that as well when I look at my own checking pictures. My body composition is still great, but like it's kind of the water fluffiness that you go, I don't normally have that.
Right. Okay.
Like, I'm a person that would probably naturally sit at like 52 kilos if I wasn't trying to push for size. And I'm currently 67.
67?
67.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does it kind of freak you out when you say like, oh, normally I'm a 52 and now I'm 67? Does that number freak you out, or did the accumulation of that number going up freak you out?
Do you know what? It did. It did. I'll be honest, last off season, the pushing of weight was more scary because I guess I'd done a class where I was so little all the time.
Yeah.
pushing the numbers was mentally probably a lot tougher than it is now. Now I look on the scales and I go, why am I dropping weight?
Yeah. Like, what the actual?
So I think, and I think that the flip kind of switched this year when I went and competed, obviously, in the pro class. And I was stood backstage in Alicante and I was looking around at all these females and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, phenomenal, but I've got a long way to go. So it was that, like, wow, yeah. And then it kind of just flipped in my head. You need to stop worrying about these scale weights, because if you want to be good, you're going to have to push, Meg.
Yeah, absolutely. So what weight were you on stage on the Figure Pro?
So Alicante, I was 51.5.
Okay, so you're still sitting around what you would have classed your almost walk around weight when you were a bikini girl.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Then on the, what's it called? The Romania, I was half a kilo lighter. So I was like 50.95.
Now you see that weight difference was, even though it seems very, very marginal, for some, oh my God, the difference in your physique from Alicante to Romania was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's almost like you just shrink wrapped your quads.
Yeah. I literally stood on, I was really, really proud of myself of where I placed. The feedback that I got was phenomenal. Obviously it was just, we knew what the feedback was going to be, was that you've got great shape, you just need more size.
Yeah.
Also the feedback was, don't push other things too hard because you don't want to become unfeminine. So that was another kind of point that they actually said to me. And then also they said, are you doing any more shows? And I said, yeah, I'm going to do Romania. They went, okay, so you're going to have to bring like serious condition. I was like, okay, challenge set.
Do that then.
And then it was literally a case of, we came home from Romania and Kid went, right, we'll do a few days of a few more steps. So I actually had to go out for a walk, which I never have to do, because, as in, like, I go out walking with the dogs, but I don't purposely have to go out for a walk because I do a lot of steps naturally. So I went out for a walk, and literally within like a few days, I just gone.
Yeah.
I don't struggle to get in condition. I struggle to put on size. But this off season, there's lots of things that we've done very different, and that is the reason as to why I've obviously grown the way that I have, because I've probably seen changes every 3 days into my physique this off season, like you would do in prep.
Oh wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's like because I check in every 3 days.
Okay.
I was doing it daily, and then you don't really need to do it daily in off season because you don't really change that much. But every 3 days, every time I do a check-in at the moment, I look at my physique and I go, wow, that's slightly bigger now. But like, there's still lines. I look puffy, as in for me.
Yeah.
But I always get a fat face. So that's the first thing I look at, I think, when I look at my check-in pictures. I look, oh, my face.
Yeah.
But then I look at my body and I'm like, right, okay, yeah, progress is being made. And it's, it's mad.
I think with human nature, you're always going to kind of focus on the negative aspect that you always see.
Especially as a female anyway.
Absolutely. So like for you said like, oh God, look at my face. Yeah. For me, it's always my ass, because I look at my ass and you almost kind of like want to turn around and just really focus on it and go, yeah, but look how big it is and look how horrible it is and, everything else. But that's what we do as females. I've got so many clients who do the same thing and they're like, oh, my lower belly, it's always so bad. And I'm just like, do you know what? You're going to put on a pair of high-waisted shorts, because I just don't want you looking at it.
Yeah.
And focusing on it, because everything else is growing beautifully and you're just predominantly.
It's gonna go.
Of course.
Each time you push up and then come down, it's not going to be there as much.
Yeah.
People don't understand the cycle.
No, that's it. They look at what's there now and they don't preempt what can be in the future. So Yeah, exactly that. So what is it that you've done differently in this particular off season that's caused you to grow so much quicker and more efficiently?
So I said to Cuba, I said, I'm not having foods that aren't whole foods. So stuck to more whole foods rather than any kind of like cheat stuff, like the squares bars and rice cakes and stuff. I just think that like good tissue. I think if you need to add some extra calories and you can't stomach any more potatoes, then adding things like the sugary stuff. But yeah, we've stuck to more whole foods. I've stopped being a dickhead when I'm training.
Okay.
Well,
just elaborate on that a little bit more, because I could never really see you being a dickhead when you were training.
No, like I just used to really, I think that the logbook is fantastic. I think it's great. I think it's the best thing because I've always used it. Even when I used to dive, I had a logbook. But I did solely just used to focus on the numbers.
Okay.
Rather than my kind of form and speed. So it was kind of, yeah, I'm moving the weight, but is it really doing anything to benefit me? Am I actually moving the weight so that I'm using my muscles, or am I just using momentum and using joints? And I would say the latter in my last off season.
Okay.
Whereas this time I haven't, and I'm much more controlled. My form is much better, and my body's just kind of blown up from that. It's like the initial push that we did with food and the good training. Like I've not really had to push that much with food this time, so I feel a little bit better tummy wise because I don't feel so like full all the time. And I think that training really has been the like one of the biggest factors in my growth this off season.
For sure. I mean, you're still eating a crap load of food though, aren't you? In real.
Oh yeah, it's like I think it's around 4K on a training day. Yeah, I think it might be a little bit more. I haven't actually put it into anything to see what it is, but looking at my diary, my food diary, it is around 4K and probably around 3.2 on a rest day.
Now that kind of number is enough to scare any kind of woman on paper, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just the amount of calories. I mean, I know that, I don't know if you feel the same or find the same thing, but I know when I actually program some of my bodybuilders and I give them their food and they look at the actual calorie content, and it's, even if it's something like 2,100, and they're like, oh my God, that's so much food. I'm like, really? I'd be really hungry on that.
And it's the initial, that's what a man normally should eat. That's what the maintenance calorie is for a man. I'm like, just get it out yet.
Yeah, absolutely. So sometimes it's better to just go on a meal plan, isn't it? And actually not know your macros.
Oh, I completely agree. And do you know what? That a lot of people that do come to me do say, I don't want to know my macros. Because I'll put it into a plan. But I have had quite a few females over the past kind of 6 months that have, even, you know, when you do the little questionnaire, that have said to me, I don't want to know my macros. I'd just rather not know. So I think that people are coming away from that idea. I prefer a meal plan. I don't like macros.
Do you know, it's one of these things, like sometimes, I mean, I'm very hybrid, so I like to give my clients the option, but I also look at their progress and I'll have a look at their mentality and actually suggest, do you know what's probably
better?
Yeah. So I like doing that, but I don't like not giving them the option, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's, sometimes we have like flexible meal plans so they can have like certain choices. So if they have like steak, potatoes and greens, for example, they can swap it out and just have a different meat and, you know, different rices or whatever like that. So swap their carbohydrate things around. But I do think that when we get closer to prep, so like I program a lot of strong men and strong women. And when we go closer to game day, I just say to them, do you know what? Because your performance is doing X, Y, and Z, you are now going to go on a meal plan because your performance is going to be ramped up. Your weights are going to be ramped up. Your energy expenditure is going to be ramped up. The last thing that I want you doing is using more mental energy and thought process on trying to figure out what macros you're going to eat.
Yeah.
So that's a really good thing.
A little bit more, you want for performance, you do want things a little bit more consistent towards that. And I think that when people get macros, they tend to be a little bit more flexible, which is fine. But then some people take it and run with it a little bit.
Yeah, they basically eat like arseholes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember once I did a macro plan once for somebody, and they were having beans on toast.
Yeah, what's that about? I'm sorry, what is that about?
I don't know. So I literally said to her, I just said, like, no.
Yeah, stop it.
Let's go to a meal plan. Let's see how you feel on that. She's like, my stomach, my bum, like when I'm farting and that. She said, so much better.
Yeah. This is it. People don't get it. And it's just like, it's all very well and good having an if it fits your macros approach. And don't get me wrong, I think it's great for having a positive mentality towards food, especially to get away from like good and bad foods and that kind of thing, especially for a general population client. But when you're looking to go more elitist and more high, pro level type of thing, you've got to have all of your ducks in a row. And that does include having your meals on point. One thing that I did want to ask you about, which was a more taboo subject, was more along the lines of PEDs.
Yeah.
So for people who, obviously I know if you listen to this podcast, you know what PEDs are. They're performance enhancing drugs. And you know that on this podcast, I don't do anything in regards to taboo subjects. We talk about bloody everything. Okay. And I have asked Meg earlier if it was okay to talk about it. And she said that it was okay because we're not restricting anything. But in regards to PEDs, what was your mentality towards it when you were possibly told that your PEDs might have to change in terms of growing into a bigger class?
Right, so shock. My cycles have never changed.
Amazing. That's really good.
Yeah. So I think the first initial thought of having to do it was a bit scary. But I knew that, to be honest, if you're going to do any class in the Pro League, it's going to come into play.
Sure.
No matter what class you do. I think that when you're an amateur bikini girl, is it necessary to take it? No. Any other class, yeah. Just because of the way that it looks and what everybody else is doing at the top of the level, top of the game, whether you're amateur or pro, it comes into play because unfortunately you can't have that hard, full look unless you are super genetically gifted.
Sure.
Because there are obviously exceptions to the rule. It is going to come into play. So I did a lot of research. I also spoke to a lot of females in the industry that I really respect and look up to in regards to it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, yeah, okay, I'm okay, let's go. And I think people follow what other people do.
Yeah.
And like, don't think about health, don't think about longevity, don't think about what is going to impact them in like a feminine way, what is going to impact them in a health perspective. It's like I run my bloods every 8 weeks to make sure that everything is on point, and everything apart from when I finished my competition. Obviously thyroid does go a little bit lower, just from being on the lower foods. Like it's just a given. And if you're going to do a prep and you don't think that something like your thyroid's going to take a hit, then you're a bit of an idiot.
Yeah, absolutely.
So apart from my thyroid being a little bit lower, and when I think some of my blood cell counts are a little bit up, but I was a little bit poorly.
Right.
Everything else has always been in range.
Okay, that's cool.
Test has never been super high. Estrogen's always been at the right level. And if I was gonna tell anybody to take anything, or if I was gonna, I would never tell anybody to take anything, but like I've had people and bikini girls that have come to me that have been on things like 50 milligrams of Anavar.
50?
50.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So just to put it out there, if I was to take anything, I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah.
If I was going to take anything, I'd take a fifth of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, maximum. So that kind of gives you in a bit of a nutshell about me. But yeah, I think that the guidance from some coaches, I can only talk on a UK standpoint because I don't know about the rest of the world. The guidance from some coaches and the things that some ladies do unfortunately take, or if they do it for too long, that's when things like the sides happen.
Yeah.
People obviously react in different ways anyway. Like some people's voices might change, some people might get some extra hair, and that doesn't mean that they're doing it in the wrong way. It's just we all have different places where we sit naturally on the scale anyway.
Yes.
So if we then add things in, things aren't gonna, like, I've been very lucky and nothing's really ever changed for me. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of people out there that just don't understand, especially on a female standpoint, what could get results. I think that they go for more rather than testing the waters and seeing what happens. And I think that people follow it blindly. So I think that you need to do a lot of research. You need to understand what it is that you're putting into your body and get someone who has had results with people on a natural level and an assistance level.
Yeah.
That can really give you almost like, I don't know, a fact sheet of people that they've worked with, and you know that they're going to have your health at the best, like the health's going to be at the front point of their mind. So I think, yeah, it is a taboo subject, but I think that enough people don't really talk about it, that I think that people are worried to ask. And I think that that's when it becomes a little bit of a vicious cycle, because they then just take whatever it is that Joe told them to take down at the gym.
Exactly. And this is the reason why I don't hold any subject as a taboo subject, because I'm sick and tired. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I started this podcast actually like 5 years ago, because I was so sick and tired of searching for answers and never actually getting them. So that's why I thought, I was listening to podcasts and I was reading things and I was looking in different forums and I just couldn't get it. So I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to start a podcast and actually get these experts on and speak to them in that realm. And that's exactly what I did. So I don't think that steroids for women or PEDs for women, I'm just talking about all AS usage, I don't think that it should be so much more of a taboo subject because of the industry that we're in.
The worst thing, I think, is that lots of people lie about it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think, do you know what is a really, really, and I'm not trying to plug it, I'm honestly not trying to plug it. The forums on Jordan's site is phenomenal, because you've got pro athletes on there, you've got some amateur athletes on there that tell you exactly what they do, from food to cycles. This is men and women, food to cycles to training. Everything's on there, everything's honest, everything's out in the open. You can ask questions and people answer it honestly. And like, I know of people that put things out there on their social media, on their YouTubes, that lie. And I know that for a fact. And I think that that's why it becomes a bit of a taboo subject, because people aren't trying to promote it. I would never, ever, ever be the person to say something to any of my clients about it. But when it comes to, and I guess I'm not really a pro athlete, what's it called? Coach.
Yes.
So I think that's probably a different thing. But I just think that lots of people aren't honest about it, which then makes people not ask about it. which then makes people then just talk to people that have just got no knowledge about it, that then they follow that plan initially. Like some of the things that people that have come to speak, like come to be coached by me, the things that they've told me, I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
And
Because people don't understand, people don't believe me when I say what I take. People don't believe that that's it. But if you do train right, if you do eat right, like I don't go off plan. I don't have a desire to really. Like if we have something, it is something nice. Like everything that I do is to be great. And if you do that, you don't need to take a lot as a female. So yeah.
It's a really good and interesting thing, and I think it's quite a nice subject to finish on as well, really, because it's just like that little sprinkling on the top, isn't it, at the end of the day? So you nail your routine, nail your food, nail your training, and then the little bit of assistance comes on top. And I really do have to kind of stress the fact that people shouldn't be naive about it. You know, drugs are in the industry of bodybuilding, and it's in the industry of powerlifting and strongman as well, you know, and strong women. You know, people do take these things because they are performance enhancing, and in order to get to that elite level, it is the sprinkling on the top, but you do have to get those little bits sorted first. So yeah, I mean, I think it is a really, really interesting subject, and thank you for obviously being very honest and open about everything that we've talked about today. So if I've got two questions for you, which is something that I ask everybody. The first thing is there any bit of advice that you want to leave the podcast on first off?
If you are thinking about competing, don't rush into a competition. Don't really, really, really take your time. If you don't have the funding to be able to get a coach, if you are quite young or whatever it may be, go and do some education yourself. Go and do a proper off season where you really get yourself to a position where your body composition is okay. You've built quite enough tissue to be able to do the class it is that you want. Have someone also give you an honest opinion on the type of class that you should aim for.
Yeah,
giving you full structure, and get food to a good level. And then you can start to compete. I think that I rushed too early. And I know that your first competition is not going to be, or you might not place, that's fine. But as long as the process to get there hasn't really, really, really ruined you.
Yeah.
That's all that I'd give advice on, is that if you want to do it, make sure that you're at a good position in a food basis, a mental basis, everything, to make sure that you don't have a really bad post-show experience.
Perfect. Really like that. And then last question then, if you could pick 3 people to sit down and have dinner with, living or dead, who would they be and why?
Do you know that I am the most indecisive person ever? Who would I choose?
It doesn't even have to be anybody, you know, like, for example, one of my people would be my mum.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, because within lockdown, the first lockdown, I didn't get to see her for like 4 months.
Yeah.
So when somebody posed that question, it would be my mum, because she means
I'd love to have my whole family at dinner. I mean, like, that would have been nice at Christmas.
I know, right? Yeah, that would have been good.
Latoria Watts.
Oh, okay.
Because she's literally my favorite ever figure competitor.
Yeah.
And I just there's not really any reason why. I'd just like to talk to her.
Yeah.
And to understand what she's like as a person, because I think it's very easy to paint a picture of that they're going to be not a real normal person, but they probably are.
Yeah.
Just to understand exactly, I don't know, just to know what she's like.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good one. Rhea.
Yeah.
Because I don't ever get to see her.
Yeah.
Which is rubbish. And now she's all the way, almost the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And I can't really pick on my grandparents because there's 4 of them, but
Yeah.
well, let's condense them into one person, and I'd just say my grandparents, because I don't think that they're going to be around for much longer.
No, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'd love for them to be at my dinner table, just so that I could spend some quality time with them without a mask.
Yeah, well, that's a big thing, isn't it? Just seeing people without a mask, it's a big thing. I'd love my granddad back. So my granddad died a few years ago, but he had the most incredible war stories that
Wow.
it was immense. Obviously, I'm a lot older than you, so you know my granddad fought in the war and stuff like that. So his war stories were just incredible, and it's so enlightening to hear that kind of thing. So yeah,
it's just something different, isn't it? It's like just a different time in the world where you had to be resilient and strong, but just for very different real reasons.
Totally. I think that's quite nice actually to highlight that, is the fact that again in this sport and in this industry you have got to be bloody resilient.
Oh
and emotionally strong. So I think that's what we can title the podcast, isn't it? So Meg Sylvester, resilient and strong.
Yeah.
So guys, that is it for another episode of Don't Fear the Weight. Thank you so much for joining us yet again. I will put all of Meg's details underneath the video as per usual. So please like, share, subscribe, all of the other things, so I can continue on getting some amazing guests in the hot seat. So Meg, thank you again so much for giving up your time on a Saturday morning. I shall look forward to speaking to you again very soon.
Yes, thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.